Hey guys, what's up? It's Finch here. We are back with another black and white SPL game. This time around, it is elodin versus Joe Ragarola, also known as marcop, also known as the Cop, also known as Gilbert Arenas. For this video, I'm just going to refer to him as Marco. For those that don't know, Marco or marcop or whatever the hell you want to call him, all these aliases. He's more known for his play in ADV. In fact, he's been one of the best players in SPL ADV for the last couple of years, even being retained for the Tyrants before. And he's also won tournaments like Alice Cup. Overall, he's a very strong player across all generations. ADV is his forte, and perhaps he has some known prowess in RBY as well, but don't let that fool you. Black-White is still a metagame he knows decently well, and he's got support of guys like a BR in-house, which unsurprisingly can bolster even someone who's a bit less familiar with Black-White, as long as they're still a capable player, which marcop, needless to say, is. As for elodin, he's been around for a while. I believe he is on Team Raiders, whereas Marco was purchased on the Tyrants for much less than his retain would have been because he's playing Black-White. elodin on Team Raiders, coming off a weird year. He started off hot last SPL, going like 4-2 or 5-2 to start, and then he cooled off and ended up finishing barely negative, I believe. Larger sample size there as well, as his team made it to the finals. Unfortunately, they fell short. And elodin, definitely his cooling off didn't help them either. But that aside, he's been one of the stronger players for a while now, and honestly, he shouldn't let that season be taken to heart. He faced a lot of strong opponents, and he happened to lose to a certain someone who's narrated in this video twice, of course, you know. Just saying. No, I'm kidding. I love elodin, though. Man's been a friend for a while now. Been through some ups and downs with the guy, but he's a hell of a player, man. He's great at taking risks. He really fits the Black-White metagame so well, in that he abuses the shit that's broken and really good. And this is a prime example of that as he loads up the as we switch sides, just to highlight his team, the Smurf offense, if you will. A generic, strong, hyper-offensive weatherless 6 that has been known to define the metagame as of late, but also a team that dates back many a year as a sort of staple of the tier. Smurf, of course, the namesake of the team, is the builder and the person who kind of popularized the 6. The idea is that you just kind of stack win conditions and synergistic offensive Pokemon without having a full regard for the defensive consequences, especially since a lot of things kind of can be checked, especially with the metagame evolving, the team can evolve with it. For example, we've seen a Volcarona coverage adapt. We've seen things like Starmie Run, Air Balloon to counteract the uptick in Toxic-based Tentacruel in Excadrill. We've seen Scizor begin to run Swords Dance sets like normal, but with Pursuit last instead of Bug Bite or Quick Attack, it'll trap the aforementioned the psych types you could see on Marco's team. Garchomp cycled from Yachi to Sash to Lum. Same with the Dragonite, Dragon Gem, or Lum, or all sorts of other things. Yachi Berry. All in all, this team is super versatile and can go a number of ways despite being the same 6 Pokemon. It's historically one of, if not the single most successful Black-White team, and elodin deciding to bring it here is unsurprising. And the reason why people like elodin bring this is because of teams like marcop, actually, believe it or not. These teams get shredded. These sand bulky offense and sand balance teams get shredded by Smurf. They get overwhelmed. Oftentimes, they already are pretty vulnerable to things like Technician Breloom and Quiver-Dance Volcarona, but especially teams like these, you know, when they don't have something that's like fast and hard to revenge kill, things like Terrakion, or I guess Alakazam used to fall in that. Now we see more Pursuit Scizor and more priority games to roll about. All in all, it's very hard to check this combination of threats for teams like Gilbert's. Of course, there are ways around that. For example, running unexpected Scarf users, or putting yourself in a position where you win the early game. Because a lot of times they lose Garchomp. If you get something like they use that, you could either make it so that they do no damage or just get rocks up and trade that. That's there are ways for sand teams to kind of tech their way to beat Smurf, but the issue is that they don't always have the ways to tech their way against other weatherless offense teams as well. And that's why we've seen kind of a decline in the generic sort of standard 6s for marcop, and you've seen this 6 used before. I've used this 6 before. I'm sure BR's used this 6 before. BKC's used this 6 before. It's more bulky offensive sand, and it's solid, and it works. You've seen it with Garchomp over Landorus. You've seen it with Landorus there. You've seen it with Gliscor there. You've seen it with Rear Nicholas over Alakazam. You've seen it with Rear Nicholas over Latios. You've seen it with Skarmory over Ferrothorn if you go back 3 or 4 years even. The fact that it matters is it's a really solid team, and actually for a bulky offensive team does pretty well against Rain for sand standards too. Given that, I quite like it. But this matchup definitely one of the more daunting ones for it. Why? In part because Bug Gem Volcarona is an absolute menace, especially when paired with Spin Sport. But also, switching into things like Technician Breloom, handling a late game Dragon Dance Dragonite, especially if the Sash is broken on Alakazam, and even an early game Assault from the aforementioned Garchomp can be very troublesome. You have to be careful if you are on marcop side, and he's going to have a very specific game plan if he wants to find his way out of this one. straight off the bat, looking at leads, I'm thinking if elodin is Sash Chomp, it's a no-brainer. For Marco P, I'm always leading one of a Landorus T or Rotom Wash. In this matchup, if Landorus T is rocks, bulky rocks, I personally always lead with it because that also does well into Breloom. Rotom Wash is viable otherwise, though. If it's Scarf Landorus, then you probably don't want to lead with it. You probably want to preserve it, but you know, you could just, if that's the case, if you're Scarf Landorus T, you probably could lead Latios, Fin Snap Scarf. And it really depends on the stats. Again, it's highly set to it. Those are kind of the revival leads, though. So let's get into this game. We're going to see Latios lead here. Chomp. That probably means just Scarf Landorus T. He goes, drops to Draco. It actually is Dragon Gem, which says a lot right there. Garchomp lives it with the Sash, but he doesn't go for the kill. He gets the rocks up. And we're going to see Latios take it out there. Volcarona is going to come now on to -2 Latios. And that's going to beat Tyranitar. But the thing is that this Volcarona took Stealth Rock damage here. And Tyranitar took Stealth Rock damage there. And that means that it's in Bug Gem range for +1 Bug Buzz. So, knowing that's coming, elodin goes for the Bug Buzz, boosted by Bug Gem. And the play here from the Marco P side was to go Landorus T. He's Scarfing. I don't love that play, actually. Because Scarf Landorus T is really valuable against late game Scizor, Breloom, even Dragonite. Personally, I think the play there is actually to either fight Latios or Alakazam. And I know that's a tough pill to swallow. Because Latios is also good against Breloom and also picks things apart. But the fact of the matter is that after another round, after Rocks and Sand, you're almost already in Bullet Punch range. It's going to do like 60. So that, coupled with the fact that Breloom is going to be manageable if you've got a full health Landorus T and a full health Alakazam intact. So one of the Psychic types. And you could argue that, okay, but what if I go Zambit, break Sash, and he sets up again? I don't think he risks the fact that you could be T-Wave or Encore. He just kills you. I know losing Sash Alakazam is kind of counterintuitive, but Landorus T kind of accomplishes the same thing, and I think it's super duper valuable in a weatherless offense match. In fact, Landorus T, many people just see it as a revenge killer and a pivot. It's actually a genuine offensive threat in this matchup. Like, look at elodin's team, and I feel like, especially when Rock's up, you don't want to be switching early in the game. This is a play that's really like hotly contested, though. A lot of people would go Landorus T, in part because they want to preserve their Psychic types. Latios is objectively good offensively in this matchup. Sash Alakazam is Sash Alakazam in the hyper offense, but for me, personally, I would have fought one of the Psychic types. You can't fight a Ferrothorn because Ferrothorn, well, unless it's Thunder Wave, you don't really, you're not going to scout Thunder Wave. Thunder Wave doesn't exist really that often. Then it sets up again and kills everything. You can't go Rotom Wash because if Rotom Wash lifts up the rocks, which I don't know the spread, but I'm assuming it does, then he could set up again in your face. You know, you use these risks. Suddenly the game ends if you do that. So yeah. Overall, whatever it was, this was the play that was made. I don't think it was a misplay. I just don't agree with it personally, and I think given the long term, it worked out well in the short term. I don't know if it worked out well in the long term. That's how I'll say it. Yeah. Anyway, so long story short here, the Bug Buzz does 2 KO. Landorus T confirms it was able to outrun the Scarf Landorus T as well. Volcarona is down to 82%, and now Tyranitar can finally live a Bug Buzz at +1, as it does 60%. And then it goes for Dragon Tail, and Dragon Tail misses, and that is horribly unfortunate for Marco P. In part because it would have phased it out, but also in part because the damage would later put it in range of various things. Volcarona could have still gotten a kill after this, don't get me wrong, but it would have been neutralized. It would have been minimized for the time being. And even if you had to fight off the Tyranitar, that would have given Marco P a very winnable opportunity, if not favorable. I don't know if it would be favorable per se, but winnable. And if it was HP Fire Alakazam, even then, the thing is, look at Marco P's team against Dragonite at this point, especially with Rocks not being up. If it's Dragon Dance Fire Punch, it's going to be really hard. So I'd still favor elodin, but it was playable at this point. You'd have to get a lot of turns right, but it was playable. This Dragon Tail miss broke the camel's back. This was horrible, tragic for Marco P. And it's also good tech. In a metagame where Baton Pass range Supreme, and it's hard for you to get a substitute up. And it taunts for Roar and stuff sometimes. You know, Dragon Tail hits through Roar. If you're not subbed up, you're getting phased out, and that's a humongous win against Baton Pass. So, really, heads up prep there for Marco P that got unfortunately hurt. Also, with Spikes, it's cool tech there. But yeah, I mean, that sucked for Marco P. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. That was awful. Really unfortunate. Yeah, so Bug Buzz is going to take it out. Crit obviously didn't matter. It's going to put elodin in a 5-4 position, but really, it's much better than that. They follow up Quiver Dance here. Surprised me a little. I guess Hydro Pump killed after... Yeah, I think Hydro Pump killed after Sand. That's fine. But yeah, now I don't think the Bug Buzz at +2 kills. it actually just barely misses out on a kill. I guess Volt Switch didn't kill after Sand. I don't have the calcs in front of me. Rotom Dodge barely lives after Sand. Volcarona goes down. Scizor comes in here now to revenge kill it with Bullet Punch. And Scizor looks really primed to threaten the majority of Elodin's team. Now here comes Latios, which basically means, okay, I'm hidden Power Fire. Come at me. But the thing is, if you're Elodin, like, in my opinion, you always go Starmie at this point. Because Starmie didn't Power Fire, huge win, Ice Beam to a KO afterwards. And if he goes Starmie on a Draco, that means it's -2. Scizor gets a Swords Dance and just wins. So you never need to risk this play. But he goes Bullet Punch, and again, it does over 60 great, but he got hidden power. Now, I think it's fine anyway, because now as long as he chokes, he has a win with Dragonite into Breloom. And you're going to see here, Extreme Speed is going to take that out. And now you got Alakazam, you just Extreme Speed to break the Sash, that puts it in Mach Punch range. Look at this 82, obviously it's a pretty fragile Alakazam, it's Alakazam. It is hit him hard ice, so it'll take it out, but that doesn't matter. Breloom, Mach Punch can do the trick here, Fighting Gym is going to boost it, and now at this point, the only way you lose is if it's like super duper physically defensive Ferrothorn with Gyro Ball. It gets a crit on this turn, and then it also has Power Whip. It doesn't carry 2 attacks super often, and if you look at this team, Scarf, Lander, Seaside only other rock users, and Dragon Tail, Altars never rocks. This has to be dual hazard. Right off the bat, that means it's probably not 2 attacks, 2 stab moves, so you're out of the woods as is. But also, I don't understand this Swords Dance here. Because if Gyro Ball crit, then he actually did just lose in the spot. Whereas if it got damage off, it wasn't. But he turned out to be Power Up anyway. While he did get a crit, it wasn't enough, and now Low Sleep's going to kill. But yeah, if I had to nitpick one player from Elodin, it'd definitely be that one. But again, it was very marginal odds, slim if ever applicable, and ultimately that led to a 16-turn 2-0, surprisingly close but decisive victory from Elodin, which undoubtedly was aided by the Dragon Tail miss, which would have made it a much more competitive game in my eyes. And while it ultimately ended pretty close due to Elodin playing it safe and optimizing his odds up until that last sequence perhaps, I do think that marcop showed some grit, came back and did everything he could. He did his due diligence. Even if I don't agree with necessarily the choice of fodder, I think his team was solid. It definitely drew the Nightmare match. I was even talking to him the other day about it. I was like, yeah, these type of teams are fine, but if they run into Smurf or a New Age Weatherless offense, you know, you're kind of fucked. And he ran into exactly that. And Elodin, especially when he's kind of in like with guys like Shoka and Ryza, who are definitely more proactive towards the tier. They want to abuse it's extremes of the tier, and Elodin has always embodied that. I feel like he's definitely one of the dudes more likely to bring out Smurf. So I wasn't really super into the more go with the flow bring from Marco. I think if you're facing Elodin, you definitely have to be more protective of these extremes. I mean, dude brought Baton Pass last year, for example. Like, you definitely have to be cognizant of that. And I don't think he showed that enough respect. And I think that punished him more so than his play. I think his play, all in all considered, especially for a debut, was pretty good. In a similar vein to Crucify's, maybe even a bit better than that. But unfortunately, the team choice, which I think this is a solid team, but I don't know if this is the opponent to bring it into. And again, that comes with the weighted risk of a metagame like Black and White. A metagame where team choice does carry a certain amount of either benefit or burden depending on which side you're on in this regard, where you can lose the game before it starts in a sense. And Black-White is a variance of a metagame, be it due to that element, where I don't think it's amplified necessarily compared to other generations, but rather in its own right, if you neglect to cover things, there's far less room to cover it because games are fewer turns. Significant sequences and turns can really dictate your fate far more than in a generation where there's Regenerator, Defog, Magic Guard all over the place. No Pursuit where you can recover, like Generation 6, 7, or even 8. This metagame is more proactive. Every turn has so much consequence. You don't see 16-turn games in other generations. And I like that. I think the game kind of goes quickly. I think you kind of hyper-focus on it. I think you really optimize the odds in your sequences and map games out even beforehand. I think that's a totally new skill set that Black-White embodies, and I love that. But at the same time, you do have to account for things. You have to be more diligent, and there is a harsher downside to that. And unfortunately, marcop experienced that in his Black-White SPL debut, whereas Elodin, a player with a bit more experience, came out on top here in a fortunate but decisive victory nonetheless. Congratulations to Elodin. Great first win here. marcop will undoubtedly bounce back. Strong player with a great foundation and good support. I expect him to, have at least finish near it even, if not, a positive. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe, etc. More Black-White videos coming soon. Okay, bye.